Thanks, Phil, and hi, everybody. Really great to be here today and chat to you in New Zealand. So thank you very much for having me. Yeah, 10 months in. So I am the Director General of the British Chambers of Commerce. We represent the 53 chambers of the accredited chambers of the UK. We have a team here in Westminster, central team, who are responsible for that collective voice into the media, into government, and of course our fantastic network of 76 and counting international chambers and business associations. So an amazing organisation, really a unique one, and that is, I would say, an unusual thing to be able to say. As you know, trade for us is at the heart of the chambers. It's number one priority for us. We want to be a real loud, proud voice for trade, global Britain, you know, and our network around the world. Businesses, well, as I like to say to the Chancellor, you know, exporting, Chancellor, is going to be the way you bring money back into the exchequer. And of course, you know, trade both ways. Businesses that trade are that, you know, our research shows they are more sustainable, they grow faster, they pay better. So, you know, trade is really important as a thing. About 10% of UK businesses export. About 60% of chamber members export, which I think just shows you our incredible strength in that area. And that is because the chambers offer trade advice, we have trade documentation, both export and customs, and of course we have an incredible network of international members around the world. So it really is an organisation geared to that. Clearly we have some issues that we need to iron out on the policy front. So we have recently launched our trade manifesto here in the UK, and on the policy side it is pushing the UK government to fix some of the issues we're seeing with the EU. You know, we still have more than 50% of our members telling us that they have some significant barriers and costs in trading with the EU, which of course, you know, up until a year ago, they didn't have any. And there are areas such as customs controls, the VAT requirements around the EU that we really need the government to fix, because once the TCA was launched a year ago, they knew there were still things that they had to do. But secondly, the other part to that, of course, is our new FTAs, which we are, you know, really excited and delighted about. And for us, that is about ensuring that our SMEs in the UK can make the most of those new FTAs that are being launched around the world. So how can we, and you know, trade deals are complicated, they're complex, they use difficult language. So how can we translate that language for our businesses? And how can we say, you know, if you're exporting here, X percentage of your business, you might think about using this new FTA to export this amount of your business here, because that's, you know, there are no longer tariffs, non-trade tariffs in place. Did a piece of research recently and we asked SMEs, what would be the top 3 things that would get you to export if you're not exporting already, or going to a new market? And the number one thing was finding a partner or a distributor in that market. So that just shows you the importance of our, you know, our international network. And then the other was about market access research, so understanding that market, and so that you know how to go into those markets. You know, the UK government has recently launched an export strategy where they have targets of moving from 600 million to 1 trillion by 2030 in terms of exports. So that is huge. And of course, government set targets, but businesses are the ones that have to do that. So, you know, the other thing we're hearing from our members is, because they are having such challenges with the EU, that they're actually finding it easier to deal with new markets or other markets, other global markets. So I think there's an education piece, there's an opportunity piece, there's a translation of the sort of where are your opportunities. And we think here that, we work a lot with the Department for International Trade here, and we've been saying to them, we think there's an opportunity to take, for example, if you could take a business that's exporting to maybe 2 markets across the world, so they get export, they sort of understand it. How can we help them move to 10 or 15? What's stopping them do that, that scale up, that big change? And I think there's something we can do as the chambers around the world to help make that happen. Yeah, that absolutely is. We're pleased that the first stage of the session has now been completed. There's obviously the second to go with more detail, but there is, quite a lot in there in terms of digital trade. See the same with New Zealand and Australia, and with New Zealand, we're excited about the area for the trade of green goods. So I think there's a real opportunity for innovation in both our markets. Moving goods in that area across through trade. We were working with another market in Asia, and they were talking about the development of one of their SMEs building battery-driven generators for building sites, which, as you know, is all currently diesel and very, very, very dirty. And that they're the first of their kind in the world. So, and they want to move to the UK and then export back to those markets. So, there's real opportunities everywhere in the green trade area. And there's 2 sides to that coin for us. There's the net zero piece, or as I like to call it, net assets, because I feel like net zero is a little bit regressive. So how can we help businesses move to carbon neutral, not just because that's the right thing to do, but because that will help them be part of supply chains, procurement, both public and private sector, but actually that also drives them down the path of green innovation. So what new products and services are they driving? I'll give you an example. Our East Lancashire chamber in the northwest of the UK has low carbon chamber, where they have found grants to help go into SMEs to help them move along the path to net zero, and then find financing to help them do that, as well as I guess you call it an innovation investment vehicle to help them invest in new green products and services. And of course, once those have been developed, they can be traded. I think there's a real challenge in finding the skills and labour force to be able to do that. The government here are putting a lot of money into R&D, so how you take ideas out of the universities into the commercial space, which is great. But again, you need the people to make that happen. So that is definitely a challenge. For example, EY, Ernst & Young here announced last week that they are launching a new business, EY Carbon, and they're looking to hire 1,300 sustainability professionals. We're really market making with this sort of stuff. But I think there's that, again, though, it's opportunity. It's opportunity for people to reskill and upskill into those areas. Every member that I talk to says the same thing. Either they are finding it hard to find people, or their people that they do have are moving because we've got, some wage inflation going on. So it's slightly hard to unpick the root of it, but obviously it's a sort of combination of COVID and Brexit that's impacted the labour market there. We know that a lot of labour went back to Europe because of Brexit, but during COVID, and at the same time, the Bank of England estimate that we've lost probably about 250,000 people who've retired early or dropped out of the labour market, and about the same again in terms of young people who've stayed in education longer because of COVID. So we really have a challenge to move to the Prime Minister's high wage, high productivity economy, which we understand is the right thing to do, but it's a transition, of course, doesn't happen overnight. At the same time, we know that there will always be jobs in the hospitality, in the hotel industry, for example, that aren't always going to be high skilled, high paid jobs. So, we have to make sure that our workforce can fill those roles. Absolutely. You know, I see the business secretary weekly. I've got a call with the chancellor this afternoon. They understand that the SMEs of our, well, take the UK, 95% of businesses in the UK are SMEs, and that's 60% of the economy. So they absolutely understand that that is crucial. And of course, as you know, the government here are very much focused on what they call the levelling up agenda. So, you know, spreading wealth across the nations, which of course is absolutely music to the ears of our chambers across every region and nation in the UK. So yes, they absolutely are listening, and we're very much speaking to them about the current costs that a lot of our businesses, a lot of our members are facing. So, you know, you've heard it before, but the back end of last year, we saw lots of increasing in shipping costs, in raw materials, and of course the energy prices through December. That has not gone away, and now we have tax rises due, national insurance tax rises due in April. So we're trying to say to the government, we're seeing the green shoots of recovery, and the government, of course, have massively supported businesses through COVID. But let's not, you know, we didn't expect a lot of these costs. We didn't expect a lot of these issues, but let's not give up now, Chancellor. You know, let's keep giving businesses the opportunity to get back to doing what they do best, of course, which is growing and thriving. So, you know, the government are indeed listening. We probably would like them to do a bit more than they are. Huge opportunities across the UK, and of course the great thing is we have our chambers in every part of the UK that can give New Zealand businesses that really soft landing into those areas. You know, our chamber CEOs are incredibly rooted in their localities. They know the local authorities, the local enterprise partnerships, I mean the local businesses. So any part of the UK, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland has a really strong chamber that can help New Zealand businesses understand the opportunities and then give them a really soft landing into those areas. So I would massively encourage them to reach out through you to us and the network. I think they'll find once you start looking, there are real huge opportunities out there across the nation. As you know, we have recently changed our COVID regulations. So, you know, very much opening up as a country, really focused on getting back to economic growth. We are definitely seeing strong inward investment into the country. So again, you know, I would encourage your members to think about that. So we will be really focused on helping businesses get back to growth. You know, we know that thriving businesses mean jobs and thriving communities, and in the end that's what it's all about. So I'm really looking forward to the year ahead.